Hey, what's going on, y'all? T Pharrell here. In this video, we'll be going over the few updates that INND, which is Interscope Hearing Technologies. They released a few updates about the company and a direction that they're going into, and I thought this was pretty important for shareholders to know about. So we'll get started first with this one-day forecast. We can see that yesterday they were down. They're currently at 0.023 cents per share before the market opens today, and most of the markets of OTC yesterday were in the red, so INND was no exception. But we'll go ahead and get into the reasons I feel these updates are important for shareholders. So the first new update I wanted to share about INND is their new changes to their website. So we can see here it looks about the same, but one thing at the top is the investor info. If you select that, you'll see that they've actually changed this up a little bit as what they would call being more transparent to shareholders. So they give you the overview, they give you the about, they're letting you know what it's been traded for most recently, the volumes and the change of their volumes. And then looking at the stock information, they also have posted up a 15-minute delayed stock chart, SEC filings. So you can see all the most recent SEC filings that they have, which should mimic what's on the OTC market page. They also made a section about news release. So this looks like it's feeding right from the PR Newswire. So they have news releases now also on their website. Management team, there's no pictures. They could certainly benefit from having pictures of each person, but they do at least give you better titles like the CEO and president, more about him, the CFO, about her, and then the chairman as well, and more about him. If you're interested in any information, you can also request information. Just fill out all these blocks. And then they also made a frequently asked question section, which is probably important because they do typically get the same questions over and over again. And so here we see some of their frequently asked questions, and this may also help shareholders to kind of get the answer quicker instead of looking for the CEO to continually put out the same thing over and over again. So in terms of a website update, I think this is good in terms of showing better transparency with everyone, making it more accessible to shareholders. The next update I wanted to go over was INND reporting that they are now switching to an alternative reporting standard instead of reporting to the SEC. And their claim is that this change will allow them to quickly submit their filings directly to OTC market, which will help them remove the stop sign quicker. And a lot of people do not like that they are changing to an alternative reporting standard into the SEC. But we're going to look here in a little bit at what that means and at this point in time why I'm not really concerned about it. But they go on to again report that they are looking to still uplist to the OTC QB, and so they're wanting to do this alternative reporting standard because they believe this will make it faster to get to OTC QB, faster to report their financials, and faster to be current on their information. So let's head over to the OTC market and see what alternative reporting standard is about. So the first part I want to direct your attention to is does it take to become current in pink. And so directly from the OTC market page, companies that provide adequate current information to the market pursuant to the International Reporting Standard, the Bank Reporting Standard, or the Alternative Reporting Standard, or are current in the SEC reporting obligations are designated as pink current information. So once they're able to switch over to Alternative Reporting Standard and get their filings up to date, they can become pink current. Once they become pink current, the stop sign is supposed to be gone. Once the stop sign is gone, that should open up for more traders to be able to trade shares of INND, which they believe will likely raise their value. But reporting to an alternative reporting standard will still allow them to become pink current, which they said they have planned to do by the end of this month. And now looking at definitions of reporting standards on the OTC market page, we read at the very beginning, in contrast to securities listed on the U.S. Stock Exchange, which they're not at yet, securities on the OTCQX, OTCQB, and pink markets may trade without being registered with the SEC. Companies traded on the OTCQX, OTCQB, and pink markets follow one of the following reporting standards. So they are still able to trade without being registered by the SEC. Let's look at the SEC reporting standards. So SEC reporting standards. Companies are in compliance with their SEC reporting requirements. That's it. And then if we come down to the definition for alternative reporting standard, it says when SEC registration is not required, companies must generally still make information publicly available pursuant to the federal securities laws, including these rules. OTC Market Group offers the alternative reporting standard for companies who choose to make material information publicly available to investors. So they still have to make their information publicly available to all investors and shareholders, even if they're an alternative reporting standard. OTCQX United States and OTCQB companies incorporated in the United States that do not report to the SEC or a U.S. banking regulator can follow the alternative reporting standard. These companies provide disclosure pursuant to the alternative reporting standard disclosure guidelines for both OTCQX and OTCQB. So this lets you know here, even if they become alternative reporting standard, they can still list to the OTCQX, they can still list to OTCQB. So they still have the opportunity to head in the same direction they said they were going to, like aiming for end of March being current, still a possibility. Aiming for roughly end of April to be OTCQB, that's still a possibility. It goes on to say this disclosure is available for investors on the OTCmarkets.com. OTCQX companies are also subject to the eligibility requirements in terms of those rules, and OTCQB companies are still subject to OTCQB standards. So again, regardless if they're alternative reporting standards or SEC, they still have to uphold the OTCQB standards and OTCQX standards. Now, for those of you who are still concerned about INND switching to an alternative reporting standard, I do want to bring up a very popular company that everyone wishes their INND stock would emulate, and that's TSMPD, formerly known as TSMP, soon to be known as HMBL. So the TSMPD Humble, we see here they're pink, they're current, and if we scroll down, even TSMP has alternative reporting standard. They are unaudited, yet they are also TSMPD, which a lot of investors, again, wish their stocks would imitate TSMPD model. So I put this on here to kind of show that just because, again, INND is switching from SEC reporting to alternative reporting standard, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing for any companies, as far as I can tell. OTCQB still allows this, OTCQX still allows this, and they still have to make information publicly known to investors. The reason they're doing alternative reporting standard is that they feel this is a quicker way for them to meet their goal at the end of March, becoming pink current and removing that stop sign. If you look at TSMPD, they don't have a stop sign, and they are under the alternative reporting standard. So that's just a little bit comparison for y'all to kind of take that in and marinate on for a bit. And finally, I want to discuss the most recent news PR release by INND that came out yesterday. And so this one is titled, Interscope Hearing Technologies completes FDA Class 2 medical device registration for its hearing aids. Interscope has completed the FDA medical device registration, air conduction with wireless technology, and is preparing for the launch of its latest direct-to-consumer hearing aid technology with its smartphone app, controlled, self-fitting, self-adjusting, recharging hearing aids. And it goes on to say the completion of the FDA medical device registration for Interscope's Nexus HD, HearIQ ITC, HearIQ 4, and the HearIQ 20, its newest family of rechargeable hearing aid devices. So these were the hearing aid devices that he was talking about in terms of new technology, as well as its Alpha series of hearing aid devices. The FDA medical device registration is one of the last steps needed for Interscope to launch its latest direct-to-consumer hearing aid technology with a smartphone app-controlled, self-fitting, self-adjusting, rechargeable hearing aids with built-in professional remote programming and support service. Interscope plans on launching its self-fitting hearing aids on multiple online platforms with the upcoming announcements of several retailers and on its own newly revamped nohasslehearing.com, which we looked at in our due diligence video and is expected to be finished by the end of the month. In preparation for the launch, Interscope has ramped up its inventory of its self-fitting hearing aids and hearing products for the anticipation of generating over $500,000 to Interscope of sales revenue for the launch. And then towards the last paragraph of the news article, Matthew Moore, CEO of Interscope Hearing Technologies, commented, "Completing FDA medical device registration gives Interscope a clear path for launching its self-fitting hearing aids. Interscope's self-fitting hearing aids will deliver 21st century hearing aid technology right to everyone's fingertips just by using their smartphone. Also, by cutting out the middleman, the hearing aid professional/provider, Interscope can also deliver affordability to the customer without sacrificing hearing quality or satisfaction. Interscope's self-fitting hearing aids empowers a user to take full control of their hearing health needs. Once FDA publishes its final regulation for the Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act, Interscope will submit its self-fitting hearing aids for the new FDA OTC medical device registration. We believe the solid foundation we built over the last 3 years has Interscope in a prime position as a leader in the emerging direct-to-consumer over-the-counter hearing aid market. With Interscope's current and upcoming retail distribution, vendor sales channels will produce consistent and ongoing revenue growth." And that was from the CEO, Matthew Moore. So in essence, them getting this registration for medical devices from the FDA Class 2 is apparently the last step before they can launch their latest direct-to-consumer hearing aid technology with their smartphone app-controlled hearing aid. So what are your thoughts about the INND's latest updates? We talked about all three of them, one being the update to their website to help show more transparency, making it easier for investors. I think that's a positive move. The second one being for them switching to an alternative reporting standard versus the SEC reporting standard. And we looked in the video that in the grand scheme of things, at least in the OTC world, it does not seem to make that big of a difference. They can still upload to the OTCQB, they can still upload to the OTCQX, and they can still become current and remove that stop sign. With that being said, if Matthew Moore honestly thinks that him going to an alternative reporting standard will help him remove the stop sign by the end of March, then that will help him reach his goal. And again, we still get the same result. We get more investors that can trade the stock now. Plus, as shown earlier in the video, TSMP, now known as TSMPD, the Humble crew, they are also under alternative reporting standards. So keep that in mind in terms of gauging how far a company can go. And then finally, we talked about them completing their FDA Class 2 medical device registration for the direct-to-consumer hearing aid products, the self-adjusting, self-recharging, app-controlled hearing aid products. It does seem like they're moving in a pretty good direction in terms of being more transparent and letting us know what's going on with the company. Again, some investors may not like that, and that's totally their prerogative, but if we look at what's going on here, we can see that they are moving in a direction and not just staying stagnant and not being quiet about everything. So I want to hear what y'all's thoughts are. Time to be a bull, time to be a bear. Let me know. Until then, I'll see you next time.